What's going on, guys? So we're going to kick off a video series talking about middleweight hitches. Basically hitches that don't exceed 20,000 pounds in terms of what their max towing capability is. And what's great about that is they're all going to have 2-inch shanks. They're all going to be between $91 to $300. There's only one hitch here that costs over $300, and I want you to try to figure out what hitch that is before we go any further. There's also another hitch here that's dramatically different in terms of how it's built, how it's designed, and its intent versus these, but I thought about including it anyways because it might actually be the right hitch for you, and it's also the least expensive hitch here as well. So you definitely want to check that one out whenever we talk about it because it might ultimately be the hitch that you need. Now, before we dive into this, one thing I did mention is that all these hitches are under $300. Why did I do that? Because I think when most people break that $300 threshold shopping for a hitch, their idea of what they need it to do changes a little bit. And it kind of kicks you into a different realm of hitch. Maybe it has some specialty features built into it. Maybe it has a scale, shock absorption, something built into it. That said, again, every hitch here, except one, is under $300. Some of these hitches are well under $300. Most of them are going to fall between $200 and $250, and they're all from different manufacturers. So let's kick this video off and talk about these hitches. Hang tight, I'll be right back. Okay, so first and foremost, again, 10 different manufacturers, 10 different products. They all kind of accomplish the same thing in a different way. They all kind of have their own unique spin on how they do what they do and how you make adjustments to them. And they're all built really well. Some are built here in the States, which we'll talk about. Some are built overseas, which we'll also talk about. And some of these introduce some really interesting characteristics to them that might be a little bit more convenient for you. So this video series is going to be pretty cool because what we're going to do is we're going to make this first video kind of talking to you about the features of each one of these and going over them in depth. The second video is going to be installing them, actually using them, putting them inside of a vehicle. How easy is it to live with? And we'll probably wrap this up with a convenience video. And that's simply how easy is it to live with this product when you're not towing? What do you do with it? How do you stow it? How do you take it apart? Where do you put it? And I think that that's going to be an important one for a lot of people because as many people as there are out there that may just want this huge, super crazy, beefy hitch, they sometimes have to figure out where they're going to put it when they're not using it and how much of a footprint it's going to take up whenever they put it where they plan on putting it. So let's dive into this. Let's first talk about the characteristics of each one of these and go over what makes them a little bit different. So the first hitch that we have on the table is going to be a product from Buyers. Now, this is a really cool product. Typically, these are labeled as an ATV hitch, but you certainly don't have to use it just as an ATV hitch. This is a tri-ball straight shank hitch, which means it has no drop or rise to it. The tri-balls would be all of the conventional ball sizes that you would need for different sizes of trailers, including your 1 7/8, your 2-inch, and your 2 5/16" ball. Also has a tow hook. Now, all of these are rated at different levels. So this has a 2,000-pound tow rating, 6,000-pound, 10,000-pound, and a 10,000-pound tow rating on the hook. This is by far the least expensive hitch that we have here today. It mainly is that way because it doesn't have any type of adjustment to it. It is under $100, so it's the least expensive. And arguably, it's the easiest to grab and go. It weighs less than any of these. It's super, super convenient if you need a hitch in a hurry and you want to have all 3 ball sizes plus a recovery hook if you need that. So I'm a big fan of this. I actually use this quite often. It's kind of a go-to product if you just need to grab and go so you can pick up a trailer and you may not know what coupler size it has. You may not want to switch through ball sizes. You just want to grab something that will go straight into a 2-inch receiver and work for you. And if that's what you're looking for, this might be the perfect hitch. Again, under $100. If you don't care about fanciness, this might be the way you go if you don't need any drop or rise to it. Now, the second hitch on the table is the BlueOx adjustable hitch. Now, this right here is a pretty dang cool product, but it's going to look very similar to another product you may have seen on my channel. I believe BlueOx is working with CURT right now to license a product because this looks identical to the CURT adjustable hitch that I also have. And if you recall, when I featured that hitch, I featured it during a hurricane, and it was probably the most affordable hitch that you could buy with all the characteristics that it had. It's still a phenomenal product. A couple really nice characteristics to it is you have a dual ball setup here. You have a 2 and a 2 5/16" hitch. You have a 2-inch shank that goes into the truck. It is a solid shank, so it's not hollowed out. This thing is incredibly heavy. You have a 1/4 inch thick steel channel right here, and it is gusseted right here as well as on top for extra strength. It's specifically rated at 14,000 pounds for the 2 5/16 inch ball and 10,000 pounds for the 2-inch ball. So you have some pretty extreme ratings on this one, which are pretty good. Again, under 20,000 pounds, but this is a great option if you're looking for something that's slightly more affordable while at the same time giving you great flexibility to adjust it. So the next hitch on the table is called the Fastway Flash Secure. The reason why they call this the Secure is because it comes with locks on both the shank assembly as well as the hitch head assembly to lock all this in place to give you that peace of mind that someone's not just going to come up and break a pin off or steal your hitch. Now, this hitch is also aluminum. So everything about this is aluminum except for the balls, which are stainless steel. It has a 10,000 pound rating for the 2 5/16 inch ball and an 8,000 pound rating for the 2-inch ball. It also has a 2-inch shank as well with the lock integrated into it. This is pretty cool. We featured this on the channel a while back, actually installing it on my brother's truck right after Hurricane Michael. That said, this is a really, really nice product. It functions really well. Again, because it is made out of aluminum, it weighs a little bit less than some of these, but surprisingly, it's not as light as I thought it would be. It still has a good amount of weight to it. But yeah, this is the Flash Secure. Next on the table, a heavy one. So this is the CURT adjustable hitch. This hitch right here is a beast. And I think this kind of replaced the series of CURT adjustable hitches that I featured a while back on my channel. Now this one has a 2-inch shank. The shank assembly as well as the drop assembly is all one piece, so it's not welded right there. As you can see, it's forged. So the entire shank and adjustment portion are all one piece. The hitch head is a separate piece with 2 pins that hold it into place. The 2 5/16 inch ball is rated at 15,000 pounds, and the 2-inch ball is rated at 10,000 pounds. This thing is incredibly heavy. This is definitely on the heavier side of the hitches that we'll be reviewing. Next one on the table is going to surprise some folks. This is from Bulletproof Hitches. This is their adjustable hitch, and this is their middleweight hitch. So this isn't that extreme one that I've shown on my channel before, and has like a 36,000 pound tow capacity. This one right here is a lighter duty hitch, but it still has a lot of great reasons why you might want to consider it. It is a channel style as well, has 2 pins to secure it in place. The 2 5/16 inch ball is rated at 14,000 pounds, and the 2-inch ball is rated at 10,000 pounds. It is also gusseted on the back right here for extra strength, and the welds on this hitch are absolutely phenomenal. It actually weighs less than the CURT hitch, and it weighs less than the BlueOx hitch, partially because the shank on this one is open on the back. So it uses 1/4 inch thick steel, and it is an open shank or a hollow shank. So this one doesn't have nearly as much weight when it comes to the overall heft of it. And again, that's mainly why. Okay, so the next one on the table is the Andersen Easy Hitch. This one is deceivingly heavy. It is incredibly heavy. It is probably the heaviest hitch up here so far. I would guess it's probably similar in weight to the CURT as well as the BlueOx, but it feels like it's actually a little heavier. It's got a super narrow profile to it. This one's got a lot of adjustment height to it. Now, I don't know if they offer this in a smaller adjustment height, but this one certainly has got a lot of height adjustment to it. The 2 5/16 inch ball is rated at 14,000 pounds, and the 2-inch ball is rated at 10,000 pounds. This has a solid steel shank on it. That's probably where most of the weight comes from. It is gusseted on the back as well, and it has impeccable welds. It's just really, really nice looking, but this is a cool product for sure. Okay, so we probably have the heaviest hitch on the table now overall. It's similar in weight to some of the others, but you can definitely tell this one weighs a bit more. And this is a hitch that a lot of people are very aware of. This is a Gen Y hitch. This one right here is not their super, super, super heavy duty series. This is more of a middleweight series hitch. It's also a far more affordable hitch for a lot of folks as well, because this is going to be under $300 also. Now, from a features perspective, you have 3 shanks on here, and they make these with additional shanks if you need additional drop, but that's how they do their drop. And I have to say this for the first time, out of all the hitches up here, this one probably takes up the least amount of real estate in a drop position whenever it's inside of your truck. Most of these hitches are a little bigger in their overall form. Now, this does stick out a little bit more off the back because of how they do this with 3 essentially independent shanks, but this is a really cool setup. So from a capacity perspective, the 2 5/16 inch ball on this has an 18,000 pound towing capacity. And then up top here, you have a 12,000 pound on the 2-inch ball. So the capacities on this hitch are definitely higher than anything else we've gone over on the table so far. Also, you have a single pin to hold this piece in place, which can make it a little bit more convenient if you're swapping it out. It does have a solid steel shank on the back. Again, that helps contribute towards the weight. But this hitch in general helps contribute towards the weight. Everything about it is super heavy duty, super robust, and it's large. So if you're looking for the heaviest duty, most capable hitch, this is probably going to be the one, but it's also going to take up a sizable footprint because of how large everything is. Okay, so we have a new champion in terms of overall weight. This thing is super, super heavy. This is a product from the company Buyers, again. So you have your tri-ball here at the end, which is kind of cool because if you take this tri-ball out, you could technically just put that inside the back of your vehicle if you have enough spacing for the hitch, because the pin still has to be able to go through, and if your receiver goes too far, you might not have the spacing you're looking for. But you have 3 balls on this one. The 2 5/16 inch ball is rated at 10,000 pounds. The 1 7/8 inch ball is rated at 6,000 pounds. And the 2 inch ball is rated at 7,500 pounds. Again, very, very heavy product. It's got 3 pins, and all 3 pins are cabled together so you don't lose them. To adjust it, you would take these pins out right here, pull these out, slide this up or down the shank. The shank is solid steel. It is gusseted on the back as well, and it's for 2 inch receivers like all of these are. But look at this. The amount that the shank actually has to stick out can be kind of concerning, because you're probably going to have about this much of your shank sticking out of the truck, and then you have this huge portion right here that's going to stick off the back of your truck. So about this much of it is actually going to probably stick out the back of your truck, and that's probably going to be concerning to some folks. That said, though, it is a pretty cool setup because it gives you a second shank, and if you don't need this entire assembly, you could always just put this possibly inside of the shank of your truck and have a very, very short stubby hitch coming off the back with no drop or rise. But this thing's cool. Its tolerances are a little different. We'll go over that in another video because from a slop perspective, there's a little bit more slop on this one. It's a little bit more utilitarian in terms of its design. It's super heavy. It's probably the heaviest hitch up here by far, but it can give you some interesting characteristics and capabilities if you are wanting to get a little bit of space between the back bumper of your truck and your trailer, so maybe you can drop your tailgate and not hit your tongue jack. Not sure, but this is a cool product, again, from the folks at Buyers. Next one is one that I pulled from my own personal collection here, and this is the B&W Tow and Stow. A lot of people are familiar with this product. It is a good product. From a capabilities perspective, this is definitely going to be on the lighter duty of everything you see here. There are going to be some of these that match it in terms of capability, but this one, again, the numbers are going to be lighter. If you're wondering why I have this foam tape right here covering the B&W logo, it's not because I'm not proud of the brand B&W. It's because I was using this on my GMC truck. And if you put the foam here, you drop the tailgate accidentally, it hits the foam and you don't damage your tailgate. And now, since we have the specific hitch for the GMC that works with the Multi-Pro tailgate, we don't need to use this one. That said, this is also a tri-ball system. Pop the pin right here, pop that out, and you spin this around. The 2 5/16 inch ball is rated at 10,000 pounds. The 1 7/8 inch ball is rated at 3,500 pounds. And the 2 inch ball is rated at 7,500 pounds. So it's got the capabilities that most people would probably need when in the market for this size of hitch. But just keep in mind, it's not the highest rated hitch here in terms of capabilities. Okay, so last on the table is the Weighsafe adjustable hitch with integrated scale. This is the aluminum hitch, and it is by far the lightest hitch assembly up here, even when you compare it to the Fastway Flash, which is also aluminum. This specific setup right here, I only included it really because I had it. So it also has a 2 inch solid aluminum shank. So it's aluminum versus steel. So you really have to go solid if you're going to make a hitch out of aluminum. It's got a 12,500 pound capacity on the 2 5/16 inch ball. I have the 2 inch ball as well, which you have to remove this assembly right here, pop a pin out to drop a smaller ball in, or you could even drop the smallest ball in here if you'd want. They make a hitch that does not have a scale on it that has a ball on each end. I don't have that specific hitch, so I just use this one instead. And this one is the outlier, the one that I talked about early on, because this one's different than all of these in terms of not having the second ball readily available on it already, and this one also having the scale built into it, and also being over $300. This hitch is about $365. We might include this in future evaluations if you guys want to see it, but in reality, because this is well over the $300 price point, it's not really a fair comparison when you compare it to all of these, because all of these manufacturers, well, most of them make a hitch that's also over $300 that we don't have included here because we're trying to make this fair. That said, from a capabilities perspective, really what you're paying for is the weight and to have the scale on the side, because the 12,500 pound capacity on this ball definitely doesn't put it at the top of the list when it comes to what its overall capacities are. That said, very cool hitch. I had it here. I figured I would just include it because I had it, and a lot of folks are going to say, why didn't you include Weighsafe? So here's the Weighsafe product. Okay, so there you have it, 10 hitches, 2 of them from the same manufacturer. The one at the very far end on the left is a buyer's product, and the one third to the end on the right is also a buyer's product. The one at the very end, this buyer's product right here, is also kind of an outlier because it does not include a drop adjustment or a rise adjustment capability to it. So that really makes it in a different kind of league in terms of whenever you're shopping for these, the price point that you have to pay. I just wanted to include it because for a lot of people, that's the right hitch. That's the hitch you need. It's going to be the most flexible for you. You're not going to have the capability of adjusting the height and leveling out your trailer, so that's the thing you have to keep in mind. But it is a very cool product. It's a well-built product. Then there's a lot of manufacturers who make that. And eTrailer carries several different flavors of that, even some that don't have the recovery hook if you don't need the recovery hook. But this is going to wrap up video 1. So video 2, we're going to dive into the convenience factor of these hitches. How easy are they to use? How easy are they to change out, to work with? Because I can tell you with some of these I struggled a little bit. Some of these have some design characteristics that might make you kind of scratch your head and wonder why they did it. And some of these are also just so dang heavy that you're like, I don't know if I could constantly be putting that in the truck, removing it and tossing it around, especially if I tow a lot. You might just end up just leaving it in your truck. That said, a lot of really cool hitches here, a lot of great products. Some of these are built in the US, some of these are built overseas. We'll go into that in the next video when we dive into the characteristics and the functionality of each one of these. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you enjoyed this first video of this series. There's probably going to be 3 or 4 videos in this series because we want to be very comprehensive, because this is your hard-earned money that you're going to be spending, and we want to make sure that you spend it on the right hitch that's right for you. Anyways, guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.